Anytime you're looking at a young team or a rebuilding team, the first place you have to look is ownership. And that ownership is so really dysfunctional. And it seems like they change their mind every other week. I mean, they went through 3 coaches last year. They've talked about firing George Karl now 3 times between the offseason and the beginning of the season. They don't seem like they really know what they want. And that, to me, regardless of players, and certainly, DeMarcus Cousins is somebody, at least from a talent perspective, that the Sixers are just hoping to get. But they're a team in a really bad spot, I think.
And you look at the Sixers, a team with 8 wins you would think is in a really bad spot. But here at the All-Star break, we got half February, all of March, and 2 weeks in April. Are things becoming more positive, more clear? Do you feel that at the end of this season that this whole thing is finally going to be coming to a close and that positivity is going to start coming in? Are the signs there that mean that show a big step moving forward?
Yeah, well, I think certainly the atmosphere around the team is a lot more positive. I mean, just the fact that you're winning games, you're in games, you're executing the Clippers game notwithstanding, you're executing more frequently down the stretch. Guys like Okafor and Noel and even TJ McConnell are in better positions to succeed. The perimeter shooters, again with the exception of the Clippers game, are connecting at a higher rate. Everybody's just playing at a little bit higher of a level. And certainly, that raises, the atmosphere around the team. In terms of whether or not they are in a great position to succeed, I'm kind of pretty level on that. I didn't think they were in all that bad of a position at the beginning of the year because you looked at Embiid and you saw the talent he had. You looked at the possibility of this draft. You looked at Okafor and Noel, and even while the team was struggling, I think you still saw that latent talent within them. I think the real success or failure of this rebuild are going to come down to those pieces and what they do in the draft. So I don't think really the long-term outlook has changed so much. But maybe you can see a little bit more of what Jahlil Okafor can do. You can see Nerlens Noel in more of his natural environment now, playing more at the center. So yeah, I think it's improved, but I think that upside was always still there.
Yeah, and Derek Bodner is with us here as the Sports Bash. Let me ask you, you just mentioned the Clippers thing. Brett Brown was on earlier. I asked him about that play, and his explanation was that's the same play they ran with Duncan in San Antonio, and that they would run it again. He said, we liked him to get it 3 feet closer to where he caught it, but if that's his explanation, then do you have a problem with that?
I mean, it's not the play I would have drawn up. And really, it's not so much that last play, but the last 2 minutes of that game, where their offense was just incredibly stagnant. You could, just watch the play that the Clippers drew up to tie the game, and then watch really the offense the Sixers were running in the final 2 minutes. The players just weren't, I didn't think, in the best position to succeed. I think a lot of it is that this is a young team. It's hard for them to execute. They haven't been together all that long to really get these plays to where they're down pat and they're comfortable running them late in game situations. But no, I don't think that was a particularly high percentage play. It's not necessarily what you want to see, but I do think a lot of it is youth as much as anything.
All right, last week Colangelo kind of indicated, Derek, that the 3 guys, they're going to have to make a decision, and I talked to Coach about Noel today. I asked him point blank, is Noel too hard of a guy to give up, meaning he has elite level defense? Do you just give up on a guy with that level of defense? And he's an A-plus athleticism defensive player. He said, I've never seen a guy who can do that. So is the realization coming in that maybe Okafor is the odd man out here, or is that not fair?
I'm not sure it's necessarily fair. I think everybody probably has a different opinion on that. If you ask me, which one I would choose and I had to make the decision right now, I'm still, Nerlens Noel guy. I think what he provides you on the defensive side of the court is so special, and that is so important at that position that I could not give him up right now. But I do think you're looking at a situation where over the next 12 months, there's not only a chance that one of them could be gone, but you could see both of them gone if things go a certain way. If Embiid comes back and you're actually confident in his ability to stay healthy, if they win the lottery and get Simmons, then you bring in Dario Saric. I mean, that could be like Embiid and Simmons could be your starting front court rotation right now, and then what do you do? So I don't think there's a whole lot of certainty right now in any of these guys' future, really. And there's still a lot up in the air. Which one of them, if either, would fit with Embiid is a great question, one that I don't think we necessarily have. But, if something comes up either at the trade deadline, at the draft, in the offseason, where they can get, really great value for one of these two, I certainly don't think it's out of the question.
Derek Bodner, PhillyMag.com, covers the Sixers. Can Okafor play the 4, or is this just a disaster?
I would say it's likely to not work out long term. Yeah. I think
that was a very kind way to put it.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite go disaster only because we've only seen it for like 3 games, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. The thinking behind it isn't so much that Okafor can defend the 4, but that keeping Noel at the 5, the extra value you get by keeping Noel near the rim will offset that. And I think a part of it, and they haven't really mentioned this, but I think a part of it is also seeing if Okafor can defend the 4 good enough to play next to Embiid next year if he comes back, because you're not going to want, Embiid's not quite as versatile as Noel defensively. He can be the same kind of interior rim protector and maybe even a better defensive rebounder, but you're not going to ask him to chase 4s like you have Noel. So determining whether or not Okafor can play with Noel, play at the power forward spot next to Noel, also goes into figuring out whether or not he can fit a similar role next to Embiid.
Derek, at the All-Star break, rookie year for Okafor, just give me your overview. Have you been impressed with him? Should Sixer fans be impressed with him? There's been so much, well, they should have taken Porzingis, and he's not going to fit, and how does he fit? Overall, though, all of that, take that out of the equation. Has Jahlil Okafor been everything and more? I mean, what do you say about his first half of his NBA rookie season?
Yeah, I think mostly what he has done is what you expected him to do, at least in terms of strengths and weaknesses. I think everybody kind of saw the defense and said, hey, that's probably going to be an issue. He's going to struggle to defend pick and rolls. He's going to struggle to defend space. He's not going to make the defensive rotations you want. I think by and large that's been the same. He's been inconsistent on the defensive glass, which, again, I think we kind of expected from what they saw at Duke. But I do think offensively he has outperformed what a lot of people thought he would. I think he's shown a little bit more in his face-up game. I think his jump shot and his free throw shooting have come along better than I think most people would have expected. And I think those 2 developments are big because in order to be a real number 1 option, he can't just be a back-to-the-basket center. He has to be able to take guys off the dribble, step away from the hoop, pull his man out, and shoot it on occasion when he's wide open. So I think those 2 developments have been big. I think if there's one spot offensively that maybe he's disappointed in, it's really passing. I thought he was a special passer last year at Duke, and that hasn't really translated. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that between, maybe teammates who aren't really comfortable moving off the ball from a post scorer right now to the shot clock going down from 35 to 24 seconds. I think there are, it's going to take him some time to really get used to NBA defenses like that. But by and large, I think offensively he's been better than you even could have hoped for. I think defensively, his struggles have been about what you would have expected.
All right, we had Brett Brown on earlier. Last question for you, Derek. I asked him which guy at the All-Star break has impressed him the most just from start of camp to now. Which guy do you think he said, and what's your answer?
I would have probably said T.J. McConnell for his answer.
He went Jeremy Grant.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it probably comes down, in terms of at least expectations, it probably comes down to those 2. Grant he just has so much more of a purpose when he drives to the hoop right now. Last year, if it wasn't a dunk, it was an adventure. He created off the dribble a lot more. His ball handling looks a little bit more confident in it. And his defense, he very regularly makes an impact defensively, and he's improved on the defensive glass as well. So he's really, in my view, a corner 3-point shot away from being a very legitimate role player in the NBA. And a very versatile and unique role player. You just don't get that kind of shot blocking and overall defense from a 3-4 combo forward. So, yeah, I think that's fair. I think both of those 2 have greatly exceeded expectations and made very good developments for their future.
All right, Derek Bodner, PhillyMag.com for more on the Sixers as they play the Kings tonight to wrap up their first half of the season, the All-Star break this weekend. Real quick, do we want to cheer for the Lakers or do we want to cheer against the Lakers?
That's a pretty good question. The 2017 draft is a lot stronger and a lot deeper, I think, than this draft. 3 through 10 in this draft, I'm not in love with. If to me, my rooting interest, so to speak, is that the Lakers stay right there with the second worst record. So the 3 options are the Sixers either get the the 4th pick, the 5th pick, or it conveys next year.
Yeah.
I would not be heartbroken if it, waits until next year to convey.